What's going on? You're listening to the Down and Dirty podcast. Brian Mayer, BrianSold.com at eXp Realty, and Tim Murphy from Andy Mac Mortgage. How are you doing, fine sir?
Dude, I'm doing freaking phenomenal, man. I'm just trying to get some caffeination going on. How's your coffee? That's what I got to ask, man.
I left it at the gas station, and I am truly bitter that
You left your
that
coffee
is
at the gas
yes,
station. What
yeah.
the?
I pumped gas for Valerie, and I had the coffee in my hand, and I must have set it up on the thing, and it was the perfect cup of coffee, and I haven't even taken a sip. And I am truly bitter about it because I don't have any good coffee here at the office right now. And I'm a little aggravated. I have an empty 7-Eleven cup sitting here, but it
Yeah, I can
is
tell.
empty. So
Dude,
I'm
was that was in your special 7-Eleven cup, was it? A
I'm
cup
a
of
little
coffee?
bitter today. No, I am wearing my 7-Eleven shoes, so
I
I have
I I, I
that.
can testify to them. And that reminds me a lot about the marketplace today, man. Right? I mean, sellers, are they gonna miss out? They're gonna leave their cup of coffee at the gas station, run out of gas. What's going on, man? What's your
Well,
advice to first time
Tim,
home sellers?
I originally had Valerie, my wife, named our podcast. It was something about keeping it real in real estate, but I think someone else is now using that name. So I thought, like, what is our sort of flavor? And I think our flavor is we give it raw, we give it down and dirty. What's the real, honest to God truth about things, unfiltered? Because I feel like that there's only one way to go about it, and that's just to give it to people straight. And that's if anybody's done business with me, that's true. I walk into a house showing home buyers, and I'm like, this house is terrible. It's like terrible in every way. And then they all start laughing. They're like, well, tell us what you really think. And I was like, well, I think it's terrible. You should not buy this house unless you really want it. And here's why you might like it, but it's, terrible. And for home sellers, same thing. The worst thing you could do is go in there and just paint some rosy picture about, everything's going to be great. It might be great, but it might not be great. And it will be great if you, do certain things. So let's talk about first-time home sellers in today's market. I think, the good news is you could be a first-time home seller, make a lot of mistakes, still sell your house. That's the good news. That wasn't always the case, right?
Well, it is, but you do need to know what the home buyers are looking for, right? To get top dollar, number one.
Yeah.
You got to set your expectations correctly. And you're right, staging the house can be one of the biggest factors of all to maximize their return on their investment. More importantly, Brian, it's kind of weird, but sellers don't always understand what they can do with their proceeds either. You know what I mean?
Right.
How do I use my money? What do I need to do? Do I need to throw it into the house? So why don't we talk a little bit about some of the strategies that you give your first time home sellers? Because I think that's a significant market that's missing the point. You know what I mean? In today's market.
Yeah, actually, that's where I actually start. Is I tell people in order to make good decisions, you have to have good information. And I like to tell people that we're going to try to find out as much as we can before we get started, as thinking of it as turning over all your cards first before you play your hand. And the best way to do that is to know what all your numbers are. Know how much money you're going to make from selling your house. Know how much you're going to need to buy your new house, how much the payment is going to be on your new house. If you plan on paying off debt, which a lot of people do, we can talk about that. How much debt are you going to be able to pay off? And then what is that going to do for your financial situation? What is the potential cost of selling your house? So we talk about that, as well as some of the hidden costs like repairs. I have a way to handle that. And then and then how much your house is worth. Obviously, we just mentioned that. Once we have all that information, then we can decide, okay, what's our strategy? And that's the down and dirty, truth about selling your house is most people said in a recent poll they would rather spend 3 weekends in jail than sell their house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That must. Where are they going to jail, man? That must be pretty
Well,
painful.
it's a county jail, not a prison, a jail. Like I think of like they call the Calvert County jail the Calvert Hilton, because it's like a small, basically safe place that you just have to sit in your cell. You don't have any freedom, but it's not like you're going to get shanked and or anything like that. It's just jail, not prison.
So, but I think that's a good point. I think a lot of sellers don't understand the process. They're weary about being taken advantage of. Let's call it what it is, right, Brian? And they don't
Yes.
recognize the advantages to selling in today's marketplace than waiting until next year, and they left their coffee at the 7-Eleven.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the first thing you said about they have a lot of fear about being taken advantage of.
Yep.
And that starts with the real estate agent relationship. One of the biggest concerns they have is that the real estate agent's going to lowball the price in order to quickly sell it so they can hurry up and get paid, or that they don't have enough knowledge on how to market their property. They don't know all the money that's been invested in it. And then they're afraid that home buyers are going to lowball them. I want to say 5 out of 6 home sellers that I sit with all say the same thing. Well, I'm not going to give my house away. And I say, you know what? That's an honest thing to say. And what I'd like to just suggest is, if you do change your mind, my daughter's currently looking for a house, and she's a nice, beautiful person. She would love to have it. So if you are giving it away, please consider her for the house. And that's still true, by the way. If you're watching this video and you want to give your house away, she's currently looking. Tim won't be able to make a sale. I won't be able to make a sale, but it's okay. The best thing is she will get a free house. So, home sellers are petrified that they're not going to be in the best position because they're going to get taken advantage of by home buyers who are greedy, and they also don't want to make any repairs, and they don't want to spend a bunch of money fixing up their house in order to get it ready for sale. And it makes sense. I mean, people feel like it's all wasted money because every dollar you spend is a dollar you lose in most people's perspective. So I like to try to reframe that and say the dollars that you spend under my advice are going to multiply. You're going to spend $1 and get back $2, $5, or depending on what it is. So starting with, how much it's worth, that's the biggest question people have. I get an appraisal on all my listings, and it's not just to find out how much the house is worth. It's also to take away the perceived or the potential animosity that a home seller might have towards a real estate agent. Like they think, oh, you don't know what it's worth. You don't live here, whatever it is. You're not from this area. You don't know my neighborhood. You don't know how much money I've spent. Or you're just trying to lowball that number so you can hurry up and get paid. I know about you guys. You're like used car salesmen. So I'm like, hey, you know what? Here's what I suggest. Why don't we hire the person whose job it is every day, all day, to figure out what houses are worth and let them decide. And then you and I can try to figure out if we can get that much money or even more money. And then we can use that person's opinion. It's not to say that's the gospel truth, but I would say of us 2 in a room, or us 3 with the appraiser, who here has the most experience on figuring out what houses are worth? You sells 2 houses a year. I mean, in your lifetime. Me, who sells maybe 2 houses a month, or this guy here who looks at probably 2 houses every day, maybe 5 to 10 a week.
And I think that's the critical piece that you always bring into the picture. Like, you know what? Get a true third-party interpretation of what your value is. I mean, that's the best strategy of all, isn't it?
I mean, I like to make that argument, and what I found is most people agree with me on that. So in that same vein of, protecting your money and making sure you don't get taken advantage of, home sellers are petrified, and they're angry about having to do repairs. The way they look at it is, I've been living here for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever.
Right.
I've been the one who's been replacing the HVAC, and I replaced all the deck boards, and I just had to put in a brand new set of windows in the basement. I'm not going to go here and replace every little code violation and every little piece of carpet that's pulled up and every little thing that's wrong with this house. You're buying a used house. You're getting what you're paying for. I don't want to get, nickel and dime to death, and I don't want to have to pay for all this stuff. It makes sense. I understand.
Yeah, but at the same token, you still want to maximize the return on the house and the investment, right? And you and I both know in this marketplace, first-time home sellers and home buyers want a perfect house, right? Isn't that the typical situation?
Well, I'll give you the perspective from a home buyer. Home buyer says, hey, man, why should I have to fix all this crap that this person didn't fix? I'm not responsible for all this stuff that's broken.
It's great.
This is their house. It's their responsibility to fix all this. I'm not saying one person's right, one person's wrong. I'm saying the goal is to make the most money. And if that's your goal, then okay, what's the strategy? The strategy is, in my plan, get a pre-home inspection, find out what those things are. God forbid you have something major that would have blown up your deal. People don't know that the home inspection is the number 2 reason why deals fall apart. And this market is probably the number 1 reason why deals fall apart. Tim said last month, out of 10 accepted offers, 5 of them blew up, 4 of them over the home inspection.
Dude,
true
it was nasty. That's very true, man.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was septics. It was wells. It was water in the crawl space. It was termites. And here's the worst part. You ready? So now they lost on an active contract. They've got a really good deal coming. Now they're scrambling to get things fixed. They're paying higher dollar expenses to get repairs done instantaneously. And let's face it, Brian, you and I both know they've lost a lot of money in the process. They really have.
Amen. And
so I think doing your homework.
Yep.
Yeah,
you got to put it back on the market. In one case you and I were involved with, the guy had a contract on another house. He was going to lose because now his house isn't selling. My buyer walked away.
Yep.
So a pre-home inspection will prevent that. The other thing that it'll do is gives you a position of strength when it comes time to negotiate, because you can hand them the home inspection at the time of the offer and say, listen,
already done.
I'd like you to make your offer based on this home inspection.
Correct. Yep.
Understanding that we're not fixing anything in this home inspection unless something's giving you heartburn.
Yeah.
In which case, I need you to ask for it now. After we sign this, we are no longer going to entertain any of these repairs. These are going to be basically part of the deal. That is the way to do it, Tim. I'm telling you, sellers love this idea. Buyers feel like, hey, I'm buying a car with the Carfax. Like, how many times do you buy a house and you have no idea the true condition of it until after you've negotiated the price?
And I think that's the home run right there, Brian. I think you just nailed it. It is fair. And, at the same token, I think it also shows, the buyer that you've done your homework ahead of time. You already know what's going on. You have a good handle on the situation. And I think that's a home run by itself right there, man.
Yeah. So think about a certified Toyota, right? So certified Toyotas are inspected and they come with a home warranty. It does not mean they have bolted on new parts. It doesn't mean they have fixed anything. It just means it's been inspected and comes with a warranty. They sell for, on average, $2,000 more than a non-certified Toyota. So imagine you're going to go buy a Toyota Camry, and as you're driving to the dealership on a hill, you got a nice 2022 Camry, or 20. Maybe say you're buying a used one, 5-year-old Camry, and it just says "as is." Boom, right? Like, that's the dumbest thing home sellers can do, is ever use the word "as is" in any of your descriptions. Like, think about this.
Yeah, immediately it makes me like weary. Like, what's wrong with the house? You know what I mean?
What's wrong with it? There must be something wrong with it, right?
Yeah, exactly right, man. That's.
It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. It just means the guy says I'm selling this as is. I mean, it's kind of understood it's as is, but so you go up there, you look inside the Camry, you're like, all right, it looks nice. And then you drive down the street, you go to the Toyota dealership, and he's like, sir, here's a 128-point inspection, and we're going to give you this warranty. So I recommend home sellers offer a home warranty. It costs you about $500. The peace of mind that it provides to buyers. So if a Toyota will sell for $2,000 more, how much more would a $500,000 house sell for? I mean, the average Toyota is what, $50K? Average home is $500K. So now we're talking. Huge, dude. I'm not saying it's a straight line, but I'm saying 1 to 2% is not crazy to think someone's going to feel more comfortable buying a certified house.
Right. No, I think you nailed it right down. Oh yeah.
So then people have this attitude of, I don't want to have to fix on my house and then have somebody come in and rip all this stuff out. So Tim, this is a great question. Now that I have you on the line.
Yeah.
How many times do people buy a house with the intention of spending another $10,000 to $20,000 or $30,000 to fix it up after they buy it?
That's a rarity. I mean, let's call it what it is.
Like,
unless
be honest. The down and dirty truth is How many people buy a house with like no money in their bank account?
That's a majority.
Under $5,000.
Yeah. Majority don't have any money. I mean, let's
The
call it what it is,
majority.
man.
Come on, man. Let
Yeah.
me just be honest. I was in the mortgage business. I saw it.
It's crazy.
So people don't buy a house like, oh, I'm going to come in here and remodel the kitchen and the bathrooms. Think about this. You're moving here from Texas because you're in the military. You just got a new job for the energy department or whatever. And now you have to not eat in your kitchen for 3 weeks while you have these random strangers come in and remodel it. And then you have to pay whatever those costs are, as well as having your house completely dysfunctional after you just moved in. You have to find these people. You're hoping they don't steal your money. I mean, that is going to
They want it
cost.
done up front. Correct. Yeah.
They literally don't want to do that kind of stuff. People have this crazy idea of, I'll sell my house as is. Someone else can come in here and do all this work. It's not to say that you can't do that, because there are plenty of people that would love to be able to buy it, not necessarily do it right away, but like my son-in-law, he wants to do it over the next couple years, and he's actually only looking for that type of house, but he is in the minority.
But the majority don't. They want the house finished. They want to have it beautiful. They want to be able to move into the house. They want to be able to jam. I mean, it makes sense, Brian. It's win-win, right? You work so hard to get there.
If your budget is $500, it's not to say we can't work with $500, but if your budget is $5,000 or $10,000, then we can turn the $10,000 into $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000, depending on what we're doing. And that's kind of the goal here, is just to take your situation, figure out what you can and can't do, what your numbers are going to be, and what is a strategy for getting the most money when it comes to selling this house. If you have your numbers ahead of time from Tim, you have your appraisal, you know what you're going to sell for, you have your home inspection, you know what your repair costs are going to be, you'll have some sort of an idea of what your house is worth today versus fixed up with conversations with me. Then you can make good decisions on what you're going to do. I can also provide the contractors to do the work at a small fraction of what you would pay to do the work. I mean, I had a home seller one time, she's paid $7,000 to have her hot water replaced. And I was like, is this a magic hot water heater? Is this
$7,000, Brian? What the hell was that about?
One of these local HVAC contractors that are prominently advertising in the area. I won't mention any name, but I was furious. This woman was elderly. She was clearly taken advantage of. And I see it quite a bit when I see somebody who spent $20,000 on HVAC or whatever. So I could get all that stuff done way cheaper than you probably can. And the goal is to make it easy, to make it so that you know what's going to happen before it happens. I think that's kind of the other big problem, is the anxiety of, well, what if this, what if that? If you kind of know most of that going in, and then, as you execute and things are happening the way that we said they were going to happen, it makes the process so much better.
But Brian, let me stop you right there. You also brought a good point. There are times where you have advised a client, listen, let's hold off putting your house on the market. Let's get the house fixed up. Maybe we do a home equity line. Maybe we do a small cash out refinance. Maybe we do something to kind of tap in that equity to make the house, because by doing so, they're getting $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 more in cash to close. That's huge, dude. That's nuts.
Absolutely. And it's not to say, and I'll say, Tim, this is the number one reason why people do not hire me, is because they think I'm going to tell them they have to do all this.
Sure.
And I'm here on the record saying you don't have to do anything. I could put a sign in your yard right now. All I'm going to do is make the argument on the things you could and should do within whatever budget you have. You can decide to do what those things are. I can help you prioritize them, and then we can get through it. But to your point, Tim, I would say my specialty is advising people on pulling a couple levers in order to get the most money for the house. And just to be honest, what it comes down to is, usually if you have Formica countertops, we're going to get some granite countertops for like $2,000. We're going to probably put new laminate vinyl planking in your kitchen, maybe paint the cabinets, maybe put new door handles up, a few ceiling fans, light fixtures, maybe do some light painting, fix up some small repairs. and we're going to take all the screens off your house, put them in the garage, maybe throw some mulch down. And that is going to push your profit margins so far up because the kitchen's the main, room in the house.
Yep.
People are so excited about having granite countertops, especially in the lower end price houses, the 3 to 4 to 500,000. When you put granite in there, people are just feeling like they're living in luxury.
And I think people don't understand that too, Brian. When you're showing them that they can get so much more for the house, number one, and then the other thing you do is you sit down and you put a plan in place to say, okay, what are you going to do with the proceeds, right? I mean, that's
that's where Tim comes in. And before we touch on that, a new program Tim is doing right now is absolutely fantastic. If you're still tuned in here at 20 minutes and 48 seconds,
sorry guys, yeah.
Well, it's important. It's a lot of money involved.
It is.
Tim's got a program where you can buy a house without having to sell your house. And in today's market, the biggest challenge you're going to have is not so much selling your house per se.
It's finding a house.
Selling it for a top dollar is another thing, but selling it shouldn't be the end of the world. Finding a house with a house to sell is near impossible because I just put an offer in last night, 3 offers. This is in Centerville. This house is in the middle of, it's God's country out there, Tim. There's not a whole lot of people that are like first choice on the list is go to Centerville.
Yeah.
However, 4 people wanted this house enough to put up real offers. We ended up winning the deal, but we had to go over the asking price. And my point is buying a house is harder. If you could sell your house after you buy your house and have 6 months to do it and be able to get some money to make those upgrades through this process and be able to make a cash offer on this future house, this becomes so much easier. I can't even tell you how many people are going to enjoy and take advantage of this program. It is definitely the bee's knees. I sound like somebody's grandmother saying that. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed that I just said that. I'm sorry.
But you're right, Brian. I mean, that's the cash offer program or the buy now, sell later. It just gives you so much more flexibility. I mean, it gives you the ability to maximize the price, do the repairs that you want to do to the home itself, gives you time to transition into the new home. It is a win-win. I mean, there's no question about that from that perspective.
It's the number one handicap to home sellers is not selling their house. It's buying a house. So there's so many different ways to skin the cat where you can do a rent back. You can do a home of choice contingency. You can do a just a straight up contingency offer. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, but if there's one good way to do it, this program Tim has is definitely the best. So that's the down and dirty, guys. It's not super, super hard. It's not super complicated. I like to think that we can cover all the bases, all the major bases with this plan. What do you think, Tim?
Dude, I think you're right on, man. I think the biggest mistake first-time home sellers make is not knowing how to maximize the return on their investment, number one. And number two, how to get out there and negotiate their next deal, man. It's insane. It really is.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it. Yes, sir.
All right, Tim. Well, that's it, my friend. We are now. What do you think of our new name, the Down and Dirty Podcast?
Dude, I like that, man. I think
you like it, but you don't love it, Tim.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
it's a little.
We might
have
to come up with a new name, but I feel like it's real. I feel like the one thing that we're known for, Tim, is just telling the truth about it. Tim's like, "Hey, house prices are expensive. You got to get over it. You got to change your perspective. You just need to suck it up, Buttercup, because it is what it is." Like that's just the down and dirty truth, Tim. Come on, just keep it real.
But there are really good deals out there. You just got to make it happen, man. That's all there is to it.
All
right, brother.
All right, man.
Catch up with man. All right. Later.